Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. State Senator Brad Hoylman-Sigal here, represent the west side of Manhattan, chair of the Senate Judiciary Committee. Really thankful to my colleagues in the Assembly for standing behind this incredibly important bill, a bill that would finally expand and increase the number of Supreme Court justices, something that we are in dire need of in New York, in particular since the numbers for Supreme Court justices haven't been increased since 1961. 1961 was the last time the legislature addressed this critical issue. We have tens of thousands of cases that are in backlog. We have so many litigants who are unable to seek justice because of this backlog. And as was famously said, justice delayed is justice denied. That's why I'm so proud to be here with Assemblymember Boris, who I'm going to hand it over to, who's been leading this effort in the Assembly. We've passed this bill through the Senate Judiciary Committee, and now we're fighting tooth and nail to get this bill to the floor for its second passage so it can be sent to the voters for their consideration. That's all we're asking. Let the voters decide. Uncap justice, increase the number of Supreme Court justices, and make certain that every New Yorker gets their day in court. Thank you very much. Very proud to introduce Assemblymember Alex Boris.
Thank you, Senator Hoylman-Sigal, Chair of the Judiciary. So proud to be partnering with him on this critically needed piece of legislation. Think about how many pieces of legislation passed in 1846 that we should still be operating from. That's what we're talking about today. An amendment to the Constitution that put a limit on the number of judges that can serve, a limit that doesn't exist in the federal system, doesn't exist in any other state, and doesn't exist in any of the 10 other trial courts that exist in New York. The reason we have such a diverse coalition supporting this bill is that everyone is in favor of quicker trials. Your right to your day in court is integral not only to our Constitution, to our country, but to how we have any fair system. But when justice is delayed, justice is denied. And what we have now are trials that take far too long for the simple reason that we don't have enough judges. So that should be easy to fix, and every year I've been here, we've created new judges, but we have never been able to create new justices in certain parts of the state because they are at a limit and they can never get any more until we remove this archaic provision of the state constitution. So today you're going to hear from many people, and because of that, I'm going to keep my remarks incredibly brief, but I want to point out that we are going to have people talking from how this affects civil trials. We'll have people from the business community. We're going to have people talking who are judges themselves about what this looks like and the burden that it puts on judges. We're going to have conversations from people that represent the defenders and the defense community. We are going to have a wide coalition, and I believe, pending some scheduling conflicts, we're even going to have a Republican stop by. So we have a broad coalition of support. Everyone should be in favor of speedier trials, and we're here to say it's time to get that done now. So I want to thank everyone for coming, and I'm going to turn it over as our first speaker to the president of the Acting Supreme Court Justices Association, Justice Jim Clines.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Assemblymember. Thank you. Thank you very much. I am the president of the New York State Association of Acting Supreme Court Justices, a group of 300 acting Supreme Court justices throughout the state of New York. We support this bill. We support more judges. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Love that. Love that brevity. Now, if everyone had that brevity, we might not need the bill. We could get through trials faster. But I want to thank Justice Jim Clines, and I want to turn it over to my colleague in the Assembly and the county leader for Democrats in the pretty good borough of Brooklyn, Assemblymember Rajneesh Bashed-Hermelin. Assemblymember.
Yes. Thank you so much, Assemblymember Boris, and thank you for being a champion for this bill. My name is Assemblymember Rodneyce Bouchard-Hamlin, and I am proud to stand before you today as a passionate advocate and co-sponsor of the Uncap Justice Act. New York's court system is in crisis. Last year, we gathered here to advocate and make our voices loud and clear that we need more judges. We need more judges. We need more judges. We are at the final stage where we can make this happen by asking our legislative and executive branches to pass this bill. Why? Because we need our judicial system to protect even more, especially at the height of our Constitution being threatened and compromised. Our laws are being disregarded and overturned with no sufficient basis. So New York State can only protect New Yorkers if we can eliminate the cap for judges, keeping in mind the population it serves. As the Democratic Party chair of Brooklyn, I understand the importance of the judiciary system because I am involved in helping elect and nominate new judges. But I cannot help our city if there's no more opportunities to increase qualified individuals who will bring equity, fairness to the courts while tackling the backlog of cases and motions and bringing effectiveness and efficiency to justice. For example, a Manhattan Supreme Court justice starts their day with 2,500 cases and 400 motions already on their desk. That's not just a workload. That's a warning sign. This is how pretty much all the boroughs in New York City are dealing with. So we need to close that gap. We cannot let New Yorkers awaiting trial wait any longer. We are talking about cases as it relates to domestic violence, housing injustices, wrongfully accused victims, and more. And as all you know too often, justice delayed becomes justice denied. That's why I support the Uncap Justice Act to finally eliminate this constitutional bottleneck, an archaic, outdated law implemented in 1846, and to empower the legislature to add judges where they are needed the most. This is not a partisan issue. The bill is backed by our governor, our attorney general, and our chief justice, district attorneys, defenders, bar associations, business leaders, and over 60 of my colleagues in the Assembly, Democrats and Republicans alike. We must uncap the limit of justice in the limits of justice in New York to create equality for all. We must end the era of judicial gridlock, and we must act now because our communities cannot afford to wait. Thank you. Amen. Amen.
Thank you, Rodneyce. Changing the Constitution is a big thing, and we wanted to make sure we had a deep study of this before we took any action. Thankfully, the New York City Bar had a whole commission, a whole group of people to study this issue that put out a wonderfully detailed 60-page report on why this is a desperately needed reform. And to talk next about that and what's needed, we have the president of the New York City Bar, Mohammed Fareedi.
Hi, my name is Mohammed Fareedi. I'm the president of the New York City Bar Association. So for far too long, New York has struggled with an insufficient and inadequate number of judges in the Supreme Court, relying on temporary and inadequate stopgap measures that fail to meet the state's growing and complex judicial needs. At the heart of the problem is the constitutional cap on the number of Supreme Court justices, tied solely to population. This outdated formula does not account for the actual volume or the nature of cases brought in our court system. Population size is a poor proxy for calculating the judicial need and resources that are needed in our state. The cap has created a systematic and systemic shortfall that undermines justice across the state. To compensate, the court system has resorted to assigning judges from other courts, criminal, family, and civil court, to serve as acting Supreme Court justices. This robbing Peter to pay Paul approach stretches our judicial resources thin. It depletes critical resources from the other courts that need them the most, and it undercuts the right of voters to elect Supreme Court justices. The consequences are widespread and deeply felt. It is time for New York to repeal the antiquated method of electing Supreme Court justices and enact an evidence-based measure that meets the state's judicial needs. The New York City Bar Association urges the Assembly and the Senate to pass the No Cap Act. Justice cannot wait any longer. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we're going to hear from one of our newer colleagues in the Assembly for whom serving in the judiciary runs in the family, Assemblymember Jordan Wright.
Thank you all so much. As Member Boris pointed out, being in the judiciary is a part of my blood. My grandfather served in the judiciary for many years, a judge named Judge Bruce Wright, who was a titan for the Eighth Amendment, and my uncle, Jeff Wright, served as a Supreme Court Justice in the state of New York as well. I just want to say that we definitely need more judges in the state of New York, because while we have this immense backlog, those who are suffering the most are black and brown folks. We are the ones who are staying in the prisons. We are the ones who are suffering from the cases in front of us taking too long to be taken care of. It's long past time for us to handle this. I think that the last time that there was an expansion, I don't know if many people behind me were alive at the moment. I think that it's time. We have an increasing population in the state of New York, so it's time that our judiciary reflects that. Thank you all so much.
We'll next hear from the New York County Defenders, Stephanie Bazell.
Hi. New York County Defender Service is an indigent defense service office that every year represents tens of thousands of New Yorkers in Manhattan's criminal and defense and Supreme Courts. Ending the arbitrary cap on the number of Supreme Court justices will expand treatment courts and stop the ballooning population at Rikers. Chief Justice Rowan has a vision to move our system away from an adversarial and towards a problem-solving model of justice. In 2024, the Chief Justice issued a call to action in his State of Judiciary address, highlighting the incredible work of treatment courts across the state in addressing the root drivers of the legal system involvement and preventing recidivism. Currently, problem-solving courts serve relatively small numbers of justice-impacted people statewide. The number of treatment courts is necessarily limited by the arbitrary numbers of justices who are constitutionally permitted in any county. Further, because of the provision that Uncap Justices seeks to redress, New York's system is horribly backlogged. This has real, tangible consequences for thousands of people on Rikers Island who must await trial. A comptroller report found that a 179% increase in the number of people awaiting trial on this decrepit island from 2013 to 2020 due to their case being held up. Right now, there are 7,521 people on Rikers Island. That is outrageous. Uncapped Justice was included in the second commission to close Rikers as a means to reduce the number of population. To move to this problem-solving court paradigm and to shrink Rikers, we must pass this common sense measure. That's right.
Thank you, Stephanie. Yeah, shout out treatment courts. Next, we're going to hear from Assemblymember Brian Cunningham.
Good afternoon. Thank you so much, Alex. Thank you so much, colleagues. Thank you so much for being here. Today, we stand together to address a crisis in our justice system, one that affects families, tenants, small business owners, survivors of violence, and every New Yorker seeking justice. Let's be clear. This isn't just about numbers. This is about people. It's about survivors of domestic violence who are waiting for orders of protection. It's about tenants on the brink of eviction waiting for their fair day in court. It's about children who are languishing in our foster care system waiting to be reconnected to a family. This is a bill that we passed last year, a bill that is necessary, and as Alex mentioned earlier, a bill that is almost 6 decades late. Let's make sure this session we send to voters the option of making sure that we can really ensure that justice in our court systems is not denied, not delayed, but always granted to every New Yorker. Let's make the difference.
Thank you, Brian. We've heard a lot about how this will affect the criminal justice system. We also want to talk about its impacts on the civil justice system. And to share a little bit about that, we have Mario Vasquez from the Business Council.
Thank you, Assemblyman. I'm with the Business Council of New York State. We represent over 3,000 businesses in the state. 70% of our membership is small business, and those are the businesses I want to talk about today. They are the ones being hit by retainers fee because their cases are stuck in the backlog that has been produced by this antiquated formula of law. I applaud the Assemblyman for introducing this bill and passing it last year, and the Senator as well. We are pushing for it again because justice delayed is justice denied, for sure. That goes for businesses and for the individuals.
Right.
Thank you, Mario. Next, we're going to hear from Assemblymember Harvey Epstein.
Speaking in existence.
So my name is Assemblymember Harvey Epstein. I want to thank Assemblymember Boris and Senator Hoylman-Sigal for bringing us to this moment.
Yes.
I'm a legal services lawyer, practiced for 25 years in New York City, and saw day after day how the struggles of working class New Yorkers were impeded by the court system, both on the criminal side and the civil side. It hurts the ability for people to get justice in the system. It hurts the ability for people who are wronged by someone else to be able to get their day in court. On the civil side, you can wait 5, 10 years to get your case decided, to get some kind of justice. The criminal side, we've heard time and time again how people just, when they get bail and they're set to Rikers Island, they sit there 3, 6, 9 months, a year, waiting for a trial. That is not the system of justice we believe in. It is not the system of justice that gives equity and transparency and fairness to New Yorkers. We need a better system, and that way we need more judges. Why do we need more judges? It's because we don't have enough space to get more judges just in Manhattan. We are capped out at the number of Supreme Court judges. So even if we could spend the money, which we want to do, to get more judges, we cannot bring it to my borough. The law has to change, and if we change the law, we can do what we need to do to bring justice across our state. I want to thank you, and let's get this done this year.
Thank you, Harvey. It's tough to say that we're modernizing the court when we're dealing with something from 1846, but thankfully we have Denise Cronstadt from the Fund for Modern Courts to tell us how important this is.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Denise Cronstadt. I'm from the Fund for Modern Courts, an organization that is almost 75 years old and stands for an independent judiciary and access to justice. I want to thank the members of the Assembly and the Senate and the sponsors for moving this forward. This is a critical bill that has to pass and then has to go to the public. Our courts, our state courts, are among the most dedicated, critical, and resilient institutions in our democracy. Judges and court staff deliver justice every day under immense pressure, often with limited resources and overwhelming caseloads, and this impacts the public, as has been said here. The judiciary is a co-equal branch of government, yet it's constrained with this outdated limit, an arbitrary cap on the number of Supreme Court judges. The Uncap Justice Act gives us an opportunity to change that. Imagine what this already hardworking justice system could be with more judges and all the other resources it needs. More judges, better technology, smarter collection of data systems, more programs designed to support the vulnerable, more funding for those who represent the people we care about. In the 21st century, we can and must strengthen our courts and expand access to justice. Removing the cap is progress towards this goal. We missed the chance to do this in the 20th century. Let's not miss it again. Over 150 years ago, it made sense. Today, it does not. Thank you.
The Higher Education Committee was just called. Don't worry, we're watching all your committees for you. So Farrah's going to run. We're going to hear from Assemblymember Farrah Forrest very quickly, and then we'll hear from Assemblymember Eddie Gibbs. Thank you, Farrah.
Thank you so much. Now, I know I'm at the right rally, the right press conference, because we're talking about something that I know very well, which is short staffing. When we're talking about not enough judges, we're looking for people to sit on these benches so that we can speed up justice, because we know that justice delayed is justice denied. Patient care that don't have nurses next to it, it ain't patient care, it's the people by themselves. And so this makes sense. Thank you so much for fighting the short staffing fight, Alex Borres, and along with Senator Brad Hoylman-Sigal. Let's get it done to make sure people across New York get the justice they need, the justice they deserve in a timely manner. Thank you so much, Assemblymember.
Thank you. And next up, Assemblymember Eddie Gibbs.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Assemblymember Eddie Gibbs. I stand here proud and firm in my support of my colleague, Assemblymember Alex Borres, and his support of this bill, which is very important. Rikers Island has the longest average length of stay of any jail in the country. New York's court system is demonstrably and impossibly backlogged. State Supreme Court justices have insurmountably long dockets and barely any time to spend on individual cases. For example, an average Manhattan Supreme Court justice walks into their office every day with 2,500 cases. I say it again, every day with 2,500 cases on their docket and 400 motions awaiting their decision. A common sense solution would be to add more judges to this overburdened courts, but an archaic provision of the state constitutions make this impossible. To make it short and sweet, let's uncap this Justice Act. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we're going to hear from the Executive Director of the Manhattan Democratic Party, Kyle Ishmael.
So, good afternoon. I'm Kyle Ishmael. I'm proud to stand here today as the Executive Director of the Manhattan Democratic Party to express our full support for the Uncap Justice Act. For too long, New York has imposed an arbitrary cap on justice, literally an arbitrary cap on justice. Victims of state negligence, abuse, and misconduct have been denied their day in court simply because of a 90-day window that does not account for trauma, fear, or the time it takes to even understand the harm that's been caused. This is not justice, it's a barrier to it. The Uncap Justice Act will remove that cap and allow survivors of state violence, many of whom have historically been marginalized by the state, to finally have access to the courts that they need for redress, just like any other New Yorker harmed by any other private actor. This is about fairness, this is about dignity, and this is about ensuring that our government is accountable not only in principle, but in practice. As Democrats, we believe that justice must be accessible. And as New Yorkers, we believe that no one should be denied their voice or their rights simply because the state harmed them. We urge the legislature to pass this bill and for the governor to sign it without delay. It's time to uncap justice. Thank you.
Let's go. Our next speaker doesn't just talk the talk, he walks the walk. He passed a bill last year to create new judges. But of course, we couldn't create new state supremes, and that's what we're here to fix this time. Assemblymember Landon Days.
Good afternoon. I'm Assemblymember Landon Days. I represent the 77th District in the Southwest Bronx. I'm also an attorney. Pop quiz. In 1846, who was the President of the United States and who was the governor? James Polk was the president. Silas Wright was the governor who oversaw the New York State Constitution Convention. As an attorney and as Assembly members, we take an oath to the Constitution, state and to the United States Constitution. This is the reality. We have been failing our state, our citizens, when it comes to the Sixth Amendment, which gives you the right to a speedy trial. This legislation is common sense. It makes policy sense, it makes political sense, is ensuring that we can have a modernized judicial system. Last year, we created 28 more judges. This one's gonna uncap and allow the opportunity for the people of New York to decide if they want more Supreme Court justices. Often our citizens say we want our voices heard. This bill is not just going to pass because we passed it in the legislature and signed by the governor, but then the people of New York get to have their voice heard in the following year when they can vote on it when they go to the ballot boxes. This is demonstrating what democracy is about. Yes, this is a republic in its own sense, but this is true democracy at its best because the people of New York will be able to make their own decision. And also, as we expand judges, I do believe it will be more equitable to create more justice because we have diversity, not just diversity by gender or race, but also diversity in the background of the attorneys that can become judges. They just not need to be law clerks, but we need to have a diverse professional background to be the new future of judges. When we have artificial intelligence and AI and technology coming on board, we need people with that background so they can rule in these cases. We want people not just prosecutors, but also defense attorneys who can bring real applicable, real-world experience to the bench. And this will allow us to do it. Thank you again. My name is Assemblymember Landon Days, and this is a bill that makes common sense, is ensuring that we have speedy trial for all New Yorkers. Thank you.
Thank you, Landon. So while every jurisdiction in New York State is close to the cap, and this bill will truly benefit everyone, there's 3 jurisdictions that are at the cap and can never get another justice. One of them is right here in the Capital Region, and our next speaker actually was a public defender in the Capital Region and can talk firsthand for what she saw, Assemblymember Gabriela Romero.
Hi, everyone. As mentioned, I'm Assemblymember Gabriela Romero. I represent the 109th Assembly District, which is here, Albany, but also Guildford, New Scotland. I was a public defender for the last 7 years in Albany County Court. And it's true, we did have an intense Albany County Court system, and it was backlogged, intense. And what's interesting and why we need this bill is because we had unelected, Court of Claims judges, unelected Court of Claims judges handling Albany County Court criminal cases. That's not right. These unelected judges had to fill in because of the backlog and intensity of our criminal cases, and it's because we were at our cap. That's unacceptable, and it goes against the whole beauty of our criminal legal system, which is that we have elected county court judges, which are supposed to be accountable to the people handling your criminal cases. This bill would allow us to uncap justice and allow us to have more county court judges that are elected and handling criminal cases. It's not right to have an unelected Court of Claims judge handling county court cases. And for that explicit reason, I am in full support of this bill, and I think that we need to have more elected judges handling criminal cases. I hope we get it done this year, but if it's not done this year, I'm going to be supporting it every single year after that. Thank you.
Next, from my western border in Manhattan, he claims his district's more fun than mine. I think it's still out to be decided, but Assemblymember Tony Simone.
Thank you. Thank you to the leadership of Assemblymember Alec Boras and State Senator Brad Hoylman-Sigal. I'm Assemblymember Tony Simone. I represent the west side of Manhattan. It looks like it's all been said, but not everyone has said it. And I just want to emphasize this is a common sense measure. And a former colleague, I think it was Cunningham, said, these are not just folders of dockets of, these are human beings, tenants who are being harassed by their landlords, LGBTQ constituents who have had a hate crime committed on them, waiting for their trials to come. And we have not enough judges with 300,000 backload, I think is the stat, that we have 300,000 cases backlogged for statewide Supreme Court. And we said before, justice delayed is justice denied. This is a common sense bipartisan measure supported from the governor, the attorney general, Republicans in both houses. We need to pass this measure now, including 64 assembly members. So let's pass it this session.
Thank you. Ranker of the Judiciary, Mike Tanusis, was here earlier. He's trying to rush back from a meeting, so if he gets here, we'll have him speak. But if not, our final speaker to close us out, Assemblymember Chris Burdick.
Thank you. And I commend my colleague, Assemblymember Boras, for his perseverance in pushing this ahead. And this is very simple. First of all, I should mention, I'm not from New York City. I'm actually from Westchester County. But I believe that this is the right thing to do. And I feel it's the right thing to support my colleagues in other areas of the state where justice is being denied. As has been said and bears repeating, justice delayed is justice denied. As was also said, we're talking about constitutional rights to a speedy trial. We can't have that occur unless we have the sufficient number of judges to handle a docket. We hear again and again, and I know my colleagues in New York City hear it again and again, of the inordinate delays in getting onto the docket. That is unconscionable, that is unacceptable, that is unjust. It has to change. We need to get it over the finish line now. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for coming. You have heard loud and clear how important it is to get rid of this arbitrary cap, to allow us to speed up trials, to give people access to justice. This is a simple bill that does nothing but delete 37 words from the Constitution, delete a limit that was put in 1846 and has already outlived any help that it was providing to the state. We need this bill now. Thank you, and happy to answer any questions that people have.